Hey, entrepreneurs, are you trying to make bigger profits in your small business? If you're like most of us entrepreneurs, increasing your profitability is always on your mind. And you're probably looking for ways to increase your revenue while growing your company as well. You found the podcast that shares ideas to help you do just that. I'm Marcia Reiner. I'm a business growth strategist. I've helped tons of small business owners to establish and implement a tangible plan that guarantees increased profitability, guides your growth, and plans for your future exit. Because building a highly profitable and sale ready business creates a win win scenario. That's more money now and a windfall later on when it's time to let go. And I want to share strategies that I've learned with you on today's Profit with a Plan podcast. But before we get started, I have some exciting news. I've got my second book ready. It's called The Profit Accelerator. And I'm looking for a few business owners to interview about how my book's 12 strategies would impact your industry. Go download my book for free and let me know if you'd like to be interviewed. I'm confident that these strategies can help any business increase their revenue, profit, and value of their company without having to pay for additional advertising or marketing. Go pick up your copy at trajectoryprofits.com/book-download. All right, I'm excited to have my guest on today, Ardeeser. I apologize about the name spelling. Ardeeser. He is a formal digital agency owner of 12 years. He even has the battle stars to prove it. He's worked with notable brands such as Bluetooth, T-Mobile, Scantron, and has built his agency from just himself to a team of 12. After selling his agency, Joe decided to take his passion for sales and proposal writing and create the smart pricing table. Wow, my mouth is not working, folks, so this is going to be a fun interview. The smart pricing table is an interactive proposal software that cuts down on the back and forth, incorporates powerful upsells, and generates proposals at lightning speed. Welcome, Joe, to the Fumbling, Bumbling Marcia and Profit with a Plan podcast.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, Marcia. You did great.
Thanks. I can't get my mouth to work. It must be just one of those days that everything just starts, the brain's moving faster than the mouth or vice versa in some
We've all
cases.
been there.
Yeah. So, Joe, you've had quite a resume there of coming in with some top companies, creating a company that gets sold, and now you're on to this path. Why did you get into proposal writing, and what is so attractive about that to you?
Yeah, I think some of the best products come from someone trying to fix their own needs. I had an agency for 12 years. We did high-end web development, web design projects, and we built it for our own use, and just kept investing in it, kept working on it. Lots of customers loved it, and we always wanted to take it to the market. But as you might imagine, when you're running an agency, you can't get it done. So started it about a little bit over a year ago, and fulfilling my dream of really taking it to a lot of other customers.
I love it. Well, proposals are so important. I think business owners forget that when they're pitching their client wants to see a complete package of what you're offering them and everything along the ways. And I think today's business owners forget that and say, oh, I charge X for Y. Or, here's a pitch deck that shows it all.
Right.
Business owners or your clients need something in writing that says exactly what you're going to do for what price, correct? I mean,
Right.
Am I on point with that?
Absolutely. Well, that's like the first thing. You got to get that right. I like the saying, if there's a mist in the pulpit, there's a fog in the congregation, right? If you don't know what you're selling and it hasn't been clear, I promise you, your customer has no freaking idea.
Let alone they're not going to give you their credit card to buy it
Right.
either.
Right.
So, yeah. I think proposal writing gets a little daunting though, right? You're
Right.
thinking, oh, I've got to write this like official document and think about exactly what I'm putting in there and what is the value of that. Or worse, they say, I'm going to do these 10 things and here's the bottom line for it.
Right.
I don't think, I think fear keeps coming into my mind about proposal writing
Yeah.
and
Well,
how daunting it can be.
yeah, it kind of feels like, I kind of relate it to writing content for your website. I always struggled with that. And it's like the blinking carrot inside of Google Docs. How do I actually start this? What do I actually write down? And we tend to overcomplicate it, right? It has to be crazy, like 50 pages. And really, but a simple format is just cover page, a little bit about your company, what you're offering, and your terms, right? Keep it
Mm,
simple. You can always make it better. But that certainly keeps people from, really getting them out the door and building solid proposals.
I love that. And so let's talk about something that, is heart of the proposal. And I think, um, do many people, I mean, are they writing just this block of everything that they do, or are they summarizing it even worse and putting a grand total, or are they really breaking it out in a way that showcases all the value you're providing to your potential client?
Yeah, I think it depends on the company. I think a lot of companies, in order to survive, you've got to get this down. And so that what the good companies know is I have to have a catalog of well-defined services. One of
Mm.
my favorite topics or big ideas is productizing your offering, right?
Ooh,
And instead of thinking of I just got to create this big proposal and it's nebulous and obscure, it's like no, what are the services? What do I offer to the market?
hmm.
Break it down. I offer this service. This is what's included. Here are some potential upsells. Here's the price. And when you productize it, then you can just add components. I think one of the craziest stories I ever saw was, I was talking to another web designer that was doing a website for financial industry, and he shared the proposal with me, and it was literally two paragraphs of text, and then it said $60,000, and then there was an upsell for 20, one
with
extra paragraph.
with one line called
Right,
you're going to get X, right, for
yeah,
another 20. That's
right,
horrible. And that's what I see in the market is these, like, just small amounts of information with these price tags on it that really don't equate to the value that the customer is getting, because a proposal is the final pitch
right.
in your offer. So I think that's the disconnect I'm seeing, or what I'm feeling, is that they're rushing to something just to get it out there so they have almost an invoice rather than a proposal.
Right. Totally, totally. And you've set yourself up for pain, right? When you don't get into details, it's a client expectation, it's an expectation management disaster, right?
Exactly.
How do you know the project's done? How do you know this part of the project's done? What additional things are they going to throw in there? Because that technically falls under the banner of what you've created. You've put no
Mm.
fence around your work. And so it's just I can connect with it because I've done it.
Well, we've all done it. I mean, that's the reality, is we've all done it. But wow, you just said something really important here. You set yourself up for problems if you do it this way, because what you expected to write with your intentions there are way different from what the consumer is going to read into that in between the lines and their expectations. You
Right,
could have allotted, let's just throw a number out there, 10 hours of work, and the customer ends up getting 20 hours of work
right,
because they're saying, well, I took it that you meant it like that,
right,
right?
right,
I thought you said, when you said to build the website, that you were going to build the copy and you were going to build the pictures and you were going to
right,
have all the links of everything I ever wanted to have in there in this iteration, right?
right. Yep.
So yeah, who you could really get in trouble by not detailing out your proposal to them and
Yeah.
saying, I'm going to X, right?
Yeah. Your proposal is the foundation for your project. It
Mm,
sets you up for success or failure. It's basically it's the navigator. It's the plan for the actual project. And a lot of people, I remember, I ran an agency for a long time, and I talked to a lot of agency owners that were just like, man, this is a drag. Like, clients can be
Sure.
so hard. And I think so much of that is actually expectation management. We loved our customers. We hardly had any troubling projects or nightmare projects because we clearly defined what we were going to do, and then we did what we said we'd do.
That's actually super, super helpful on both sides, right? Because you don't want that crazy client that just nitpicks you and comes back and asks for more, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think maybe a simple way of like a good example of this. Let me just kind of run through, a scenario where you've not defined something and where you have just defined it. So let's imagine you're creating you do social media marketing for businesses. Okay, so you could say social media marketing for Facebook, $1,000. Okay, the question comes in. How many posts per month are you doing? Are you getting engaged with my followers and in the comment section? How will I know how performance is going? What's the term, right? All these kind of things. All those things. There's what you think it says. There's what it actually says, and then there's what they think it says.
Exactly.
So a better setup is social media. So Facebook. Management, you could call it. Imagine you're doing a proposal, you have a line item in there, Facebook management. I like to say something like this: manage Facebook profile, one Facebook profile, maybe even include a link to it. Work included or services included. Do 5 posts, or let's say 10 posts per month. Before that, I'd say sit down with customer monthly and discuss hot button issues that their audience would like, and then create the posts. Have them review it, post it, and then provide analytics and also interact with their customers. It's you don't have to say everything, but you can see how I define that gives me handles to grab onto, right? Like, no, actually, we only do 10 per month. Oh, okay. Well, it's written down. You told me that, right? You can actually grab onto it and put it to a halt, or just maybe there's scope creep, but you can actually get paid for it.
I love it. And when a customer's paying money for something, they want to know what they're getting, right?
Right.
Not
Right.
just Facebook management, right? They want to know all the nuts and bolts, which adds to your credibility of what you're delivering. And it's easier for them to write a check when they can say, this is what I'm getting. Clarity is everything on their side and your side to cover your behind after you're doing it. So I love this idea.
Marcia, you've probably seen like a magician or some sidewalk thing where a guy's holding a black box and he says, hey, put your hand in there. I'm not putting my hand in there. There might be a tarantula or a poisonous scorpion. And that's what we're asking customers to do when we provide no guidance and just say, hey, give me your money and I'll create Facebook posts for you. But you haven't defined it. They have no idea what they're going to get, and they're probably scared. They're probably afraid that they're going to get bitten, right?
Exactly.
And so it's precisely your point.
Wow, I love it. Okay, so, we talked about the building of it and the values and the pieces of the proposal. We talked about having a solid description of what you're giving so you can, I love it, hold on to it with handles, right? And make sure that both sides are in agreement of what those expectations are. But let's get down to the bottom of the proposal. When you're actually asking for money, what do we need to have in there that makes it easier for them to say yes and sign on the dotted line? Or, what do we need to have in that proposal?
Yeah. Well, I think one important thing I tell my customers all the time, this idea, and this kind of comes before that, and then I'll kind of answer some of that question. One of the biggest ways you can help with your conversion is to ask your prospect for a proposal review meeting. Okay.
Oh.
So you're setting that you want to get that signature. Well, there's a proposal review meeting can do a ton in the way of building trust and getting that done. What I typically would do in the past, I would say, hey, you'd have an initial discovery call, right? You go over their needs. And as you're doing that, if you've thought out your line items and your offering, you're already thinking through the proposal, what you can include in there. And then at the end of that meeting, I love BAM Fam. So it's no Ham Fam. That's what it is. Have a meeting, book a meeting. Okay.
Oh, okay.
After that initial discovery call, during this initial discovery call, you bring up your Calendly, put it in their time zone, and ask them when you can have a proposal review meeting. And the idea is, look, I'm going to put some time into creating this proposal. I would like 20 minutes to review it with you. Make it short, fine, just 20 minutes. Make it so that you can review it with them. Then you can don't send them the link to the proposal or the PDF until after that meeting, because you need to sell the proposal, right?
Absolutely. I was afraid you were going to say, okay, so that when they get the proposal, you can walk through it afterwards. Never mail, just send a proposal to them. Yep. You have to talk them through, because that's your closing sale. You're reminding them of everything, that all of their hot buttons. You're reminding them of all of their fears, all of the dreams that they want this proposal to achieve for them.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Chucking proposals over the fence and hoping for the best that's not a workable strategy. Your conversion rates just go way down. After that, so after you've done that solid work, I'd say things that can help with conversion and getting them to actually sign is give them options. You can't really do this with a standard PDF, but if you use a proposal software, I have some ideas. Okay. And a lot of that software has, you can add check boxes, or quantity items like that, and give them options. You got to remember that a lot of times our prospects are talking to maybe 3, 4, 10 other vendors, and they don't want to have to write, 5 questions to each one and specific to the proposal. If you give them options, they can get the scope and the price that works for them. You maybe not everything's optional, but what is flexible, make it optional, and then they can just sign it, right? So that's a big thing. Digital signature.
So as an example, you would come in and say, okay, so here's the scope of my service, and here's some add-ons that are flexible. Or would you say, well, here's the platinum. Here's the bronze, and here's the plain white vanilla envelope, right? Yeah. I would assume you'd want to just give them kind of, because they'll always choose the less one. But I think giving them options for the upsell would be better, right? Yeah,
I can see room for both. If you've got a really fixed process and packages, I can see, but allow them to choose, right? Like they don't have to call you. They don't need to email you back. They can click the button, okay? And they can choose it. To get real practical, I like giving examples. So let's say, again, this fictional social media marketing company. You could have in the proposal, you could have a kickoff and discovery call where you're kind of kicking the project off. You could have a recurring line item that says, Facebook social media management, and you outline things just like I described earlier. But then you might want, you've done all this work for creating this content. Why not repost that to LinkedIn? Why not repost it to Facebook? And those are really easy upsells. Maybe it's $1,000 a month for the Facebook, but then you can just say, hey, these are only $150 more, and we'll do that as well. You can also have upsells again for comment engagement, all that kind of stuff. But maybe they want to put it on LinkedIn. If you send them a static proposal that just had Facebook, you're not giving them options. That means they gotta write you an email. They're super busy. You got to write you an email. You got to then adjust the proposal, export it as a PDF, send it back, and then all of a sudden they go to someone else, right? You give them the options. And to original question of getting them to actually close, I'd say e-signatures. If you're still asking people to print stuff, man, it's so easy to get left behind. Interactive proposals where you can just push, they make their selections and they can sign. Game changer.
Love it. All right. So let's talk about the interactive proposals that you've created and how to simplify all this craziness we just talked about that could be putting, breaking people into sweat thinking, oh, I got to do all these things, right? There's got to be an easier way of doing these so you can add the pieces that would be really effective for your client, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, I actually have a kind of a framework for building a really solid proposal system. Could I run through those 5 things real quick?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then we'll get into this. So the first thing is, I call it the 5 C's to better proposals. The first one is capitalize on technology. As if any of your listeners are Jim Collins fans, he calls these technology accelerators. So don't use Word, use proposal software. That's the first thing. The second thing is catalog your offering. So really go through the discipline of spelling out what you sell. And the thing about this is it turns out to be actually really, really fun. When you're creating proposals and you're just kind of making it up as you go, that's tedious. That's painful. But when you're outlining your offerings, it's like, oh, actually, this is cool. I have a repeatable service here, and I have consistent upsell opportunities for this line item, and I have limitations, and I can define this once and sell it over and over and over. That's stimulating fun work.
That's the money right there, because a lot of people think, oh, well, I do Facebook social posting for you, but then if they don't list it out, then they don't realize really truly where the money's going, right? Oh, I charge you 1,000, but I didn't realize that this is actually taking me, 8 hours to do, and that's more than what I'm charging per hour, or less than what I'm charging per hour. So it helps you to define what your offer is in a really impactful way to make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing.
Yeah. If you think I don't have time to build a proposal system, you got to realize what you're saying is I'm leaving opportunities for getting paid way less than I deserve. You can't put a price point on something until you've actually created an anatomy of it, right? You have to figure out the structure, the pieces of it. So, okay, so capitalize with technology, catalog your offering. Third is cater to your customer. Okay, you can do this if you're just using a standard PDF. You can just say option 1, option 2, option 3. That's good. But a step up from that is using some kind of interactive proposal software. Lots of stuff on the market. But that's the point we already covered about making it easy for them. Confer with your customer. Okay, these are all C's, real simple here. Confer with your customer is the proposal meeting that I talked about earlier. And then the fifth one is continuous improvement. So as you do projects, go back to your repository, go back to your templates and your line items and fix issues. Maybe giving away 10 Facebook posts per month, you're just not making money on it. Okay. Do you need to charge more? Do you need to do 7 posts? Do you need to make things more efficient with your operations? You always be going back. I think if you start with that, your question is how do we make this not a grind? I think it's really it's kind of, think of it like a pyramid. It's get some technology to help you do better, catalog your offering, give your customers options, do the proposal meeting idea, and then just always be improving. Go through that step. It gets better over time. You keep investing in it, and your projects go smoother and smoother.
Well, it's also by doing that hard work of figuring out all those C's, you're also setting yourself up for greater success and understanding by your client, your potential client. Right. Because like you said, nobody wants to stick their hand in a dark box, right? They want to know what they're getting. They want to know that it's priced appropriately. And then if you're dealing out a fully built out proposal and the other guy just did a line item or a brief paragraph and a round fuzzy number, they're going, wait a minute, this guy looks professional and truly understands the project that I'm hiring them for versus the other guys that are out there just putting a paragraph and some round fuzzy number that makes no sense as to really truly what it valued. And if that number's higher or lower, then you've got some power, right? I think it is really truly the power to close the deal when you can put together a well-crafted proposal
Huge,
and you make
huge,
it easy.
yeah, huge. It makes a huge distinction between your proposal and all your competitors. I remember, I built this at my agency. We used it for years, and towards the end, it was just so rare to have a problematic project because what it also does is the clients that aren't a good fit self-select out. The kind of
Mm-hmm.
customers that didn't want to work with us are the ones that wanted vague. But I'm sorry, like I have to have a business with repeatable services or I can't grow, I can't scale. And so they'd see 90% of our prospects were like, wow, this proposal format you guys are using is incredible. The 10% that didn't, I was, it was helpful. It's like, okay, that's great. You've told me that we probably wouldn't be a good fit, and you move on.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
it's so important. Okay, so when we're talking about software, and by the way, first, can I just go back and say how important it is to catalog your offerings? I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Yep.
such a juicy thing that I know nobody's doing,
If
right?
that's the
And
only thing people remember from this podcast, catalog your offering. Yep.
I think they'll remember a lot from it. But wow, that's super powerful because it helps the company. It helps you it helps you know what you're pricing, if you're pricing properly, the expectations of your team, the time, the product, the
Right.
solution, and then it gives the same side to the consumer, right? That
Yep.
they understand exactly what they're getting. It's so important. I keep sticking with it because it's everything, I think.
Right.
All
Agreed.
right, so when we're talking about software tools, I mean, we've got so many darn programs everywhere. I mean, how do we make this easy?
Yeah, well, I use a lot of software myself before I started my SaaS product. So I own a online proposal software company called Smart Pricing Table. What I'll do is I'll say the things that were important to my agency. I wanted that optionality.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be able to have upsells for individual line items, right? Think of
Mm.
like the social media posts feature. Think of that as a line item, and being able to add posts per month. Maybe you can add like 3 more posts, and letting my customer do that, right?
So
I was
they're
thinking,
choosing.
yeah, yeah. I wanted to be able to have a really strong catalog as well. And I think there's a lot of great solutions on the market. There's some big players like, PandaDoc or Proposify. I think with my customer base and like the features that I focus on is really like kind of think of the professional services. So
Mm.
agencies, business consultants, architects, interior designers, like those kind of things are really where proposal software. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of options in the market, and they all do kind of a specific thing.
Love it, love it. So yours is perfectly designed for the growing entrepreneur who is looking to land more deals
Right.
and to simplify their process so nothing falls through the crack,
Right.
right? They get both sides and the expectations are hit. So I love that. So when we're talking about software, does it communicate or with any other programs? I mean, we know Zapier can always make everything communicate and make it super easy, but not to throw you under the bus or anything, does it work with any other like accounting software or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, we are. That's a great question. We're probably about a year and a couple months in, and my biggest objective for Q2 or Q1 and Q2 is integration. So we're going to get there with our software. The big ones are CRM integrations and payment processing. I think those are really important. When I had my agency, we just like once a project was signed, click of a button, all this stuff happened. And just need a bit of time, but we'll get there. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you're growing, you're doing the effects, you're doing what we need to have in there. And I want to iterate again why proposal software is absolutely necessary. Give me your idea on that because I know we've been talking about it here, but I think it's another important reason to discuss it.
Yeah. Can I put that in the context of my software so I can talk about real?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So with Smart Pricing Table, some of the really awesome features, obviously I think they're awesome, but the cataloging is a really big idea. Templates are a really big idea, and of course interactivity. And so with our system, what you can do is you can go in just like I described, and you can start building out your catalog. So let's, again, the social media marketing, you could create a new line item, give it a title, give a description, a bulleted list of what's included, maybe put some limitations. And a really great, powerful feature is line item upsells. So that's where you can say things like, just write on that line item, connect to the Facebook marketing. You could say additional posts, and then you can fill out a quantity. Maybe you want to add an upsell for interacting with their comments, right? And you build that either in the library, or you can build it just for a proposal. So you've got a customer, maybe you've never outlined this before. You define it in the proposal and a quick save to library. Now
So
you
it's
have
done
this.
one time.
Yes. You structure the line item, you save it to the library so that you can add it quickly, and then you can always be making improvements. Another big thing is just templates. So one of the cool things at my old agency, we were trying to hit a particular market, and it was kind of a lower end market, just like lower budget, not lower end, but lower budget. And we were able to actually create a template that had a lot of different options on it. And we were able to generate proposals within 5 to 10 minutes. Because if you think about it, if your offering is defined, you have all these line items, and then you have templates that fit your different project types, then it's as simple as create proposal, fill in some quick information, delete a few things, and you're off to the races. So so those are some of the features that I've kind of hit on, that make it just so lightning fast.
I love it. And I think that's what it is, right? You've spent all the time, developing the client, nurturing the client, offering the client, making it through. The last final step is getting them to say yes. And
Right.
That's the proposal, right? And if you could do it lightning fast with repeatable stuff that you don't lose things through the crack, right?
Yep.
Things don't fall on the floor. You don't forget about something because you've taken the upfront time to build it out in a way that you feel confident going forward that you can deliver on and at that price point, right?
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. It's so important. Every single business owner out there, you need to be using proposals to craft your offer to your client. I mean, I'm thinking anything over a couple $100, you better be having a proposal stacked up there, or you're just asking for trouble, right? I mean, come on.
Come on.
and to make it easier is everything for it. So, Joe, you've been a wealth of information here and really shined an important light on an important part of the sales process. So where can listeners find out more about you and your Smart Pricing Table software?
Yeah, pretty simple. Just smartpricingtable.com. I've got additional resources if you're interested in our products. There's goes over features and some samples. I also really love to connect with folks, and so if you schedule a demo, I like to throw in a lot of consulting as I do that. Things like having a proposal meeting, and so if you create proposals and there's room for improvement, I'd love to connect with you on a quick demo.
I love it. I love it. So generous. And come on, guys, this is the final piece of your sales plan, and you've got to have it dialed in a way that you can do it effortlessly and successfully. So great that you're providing that kind of information. I know it's something that we all need to have. All right, listeners, thanks for listening. I hope you found a couple of ideas to put into your business that will help you become more profitable. And we keep saying it, the final lever is your proposal. So you might as well do it the best you can. All right, so now more than ever, it's important to focus on growing your business and its revenue. Don't forget to go download my book and its 12 strategies that dramatically increase your revenue, profit, and the value of your company without having to pay for additional advertising or marketing. Go pick up your copy at trajectoryprofits.com/book-download. And Joe and I would love to hear your questions on proposals. Maybe even a success story. You wrote a proposal, and what was it that sealed the deal on it? Or maybe some concerns that you have, or what are the missing pieces that you need to have in every proposal? Hit us up on the comments. Joe and I will respond back and give you the feedback you're looking for. While you're at it, subscribe so you can catch the next podcast. As always, you can catch Profit with a Plan on any of your favorite podcast players. And we're looking forward to more great profitable information on next week's show. So until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you.